Greetings. I just realized it's been a little while since I've done an altar tour, and I just changed up my healing altar here in my sunroom, and I thought maybe you would be interested in some of the changes that I've done since maybe the last time I've shown you. I don't recall specifically, but I do know that for quite a while I've been using this altar here, this little altar in this this is part of one of my witch's cupboards. It's a cabinet that used to be that my husband built me in our kitchen before we remodeled it, and I didn't have the heart to get rid of it, so it was repurposed. We brought it in here and built it in here in the sunroom, and I've been using it as one of my witch's cupboards. And this little top here is a beautiful space for a little healing altar. Now normally I did this, I want to say also, because this faces the west for me here in my home, and the water, and very much a water sign, as you know, and I'm very connected to water, and water is very, very healing to me. So this is the ocean, the Pacific Ocean is there. My pool is there. I have some fountain out here, water fountain. There's a lot of water going on in here. So this has always been a really good place for healing. And I've usually been using this for quite a while as just a healing altar. It started out as an altar for pets that were missing, pets that were sick, pets were my pets, other friends of pets, friends' pets, and it sort of then I was used sometimes to do special intentions for friends who were friends themselves who were ill, whatever. Well, I've been doing some thinking about it, and I thought, if you've ever gone into a Catholic church and been around all of the lit candles, all of the prayer candles there, you realize that it's a very, very, the prayers are very strongly felt, because I think in part, not just because they're in a church, I don't think that's really the point. I think it's because the massive amounts of prayers being offered at the same time. I think that when you do several prayers at once, the intensity of the prayer is magnified. So I thought that would be the same thing on my altar when I'm offering up a prayer for one intention, to put some other intentions on this, have them share the same altar. Why not? So I thought this is something that I'm going to be doing for a while, and I really like the idea. I like the way it feels, and I just thought really quickly, I don't want to take up time, really quickly I could give you a little tour, just show you what I have used on my altar. And if you have seen any of my altar tours before, or anything about any of my magical tools, you know that I'm a big proponent of using what you have. And so what I'm going to show you that I have, it is not going to be what you have. I collected things from my yard, but I collected things from my yard and my property and my home with intention of what I wanted. I looked for things that were growing in my yard that had properties that were appropriate for my altar. So I just thought, for interest, maybe to give you some ideas of how to do some things of your own. So I thought, well, why not come and share it? So I hope this is something that you're interested in. So I'm going to just take a second and turn the camera around so I can show you what I have and tell you a little bit about why I chose them for my altar. Okay, I hope you can see. I hope the angle of the camera is okay. But this is my little space. As you see, maybe I can show you where this is so you have some reference. This is my little cupboard. There you can go. You can see what it looks like. Just my little blue cupboard here in my sunroom. A little space here, a little counter space. And first thing I did was I came across another laughing Buddha. I really love Buddha. I'm not a Buddhist, but I love Buddha. I love I feel really happy having a Buddha in my home. I have one in the front hall, on the altar in the front hall, greeting people as they come into my home in the east. And I thought it would be appropriate to have one back here in the West. Um, uh, in Feng Shui, if you know anything about Feng Shui literally in Chinese translates, it's Chinese for wind and water. And so it's very appropriate in my home that if I have one in the east facing the wind, I have one here in the west facing the water. So I thought that would be really good. And it just greets the energies. You know, Buddha just greets the energies that enter the space and activates them and increases them. And I thought that was really good, increasing the intentions here on my altar. And he's wearing a little necklace of serpentine. I think I talked about that a while ago. It's also known as the new jade. It was used for centuries as a very strong amulet to help guard off dangers. Some of the biggest dangers, like snakes and sorcery and the dark arts, historically. And one of our biggest dangers today is disease, and specifically really serious diseases such as cancers and debilitating chronic conditions, which affect a lot of my friends. So I thought it was appropriate that this Buddha here on my healing altar wear a necklace of serpentine. So he's borrowing one of my bracelets for that purpose. You might see on the white candle here in the foreground, there is a little, it looks like a little bundle. It looks like a smudging bundle, but I don't mean it really to be burned. I mean, I gathered these things from my yard, bundled them together as a sort of a making sort of a talisman here to it's an intentional, a bundle of intent. And what I used 6 different things from my garden. I used lime leaves from my lime tree. Lime is a really good general healing or protection plant. It promotes calmness and tranquility, and it strengthens love. And this candle here I have in the front here is it's white, that it is adorning. And white, of course, is a color of purity and healing, and I have it in a bed of rose quartz. Which is, of course, they're always associated with love and friendship. It also is very good for healing, but so I thought it would be appropriate to put there in the bed, the bundle there. And this candle that I have here in the front is for a specific friend who's undergoing a procedure today. And the smoky quartz in front of the candle, I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of dark, but right there in front, at the base of the candle, in front of the dish that the candle is sitting in, is a smoky quartz crystal. And smoky quartz has the same healing properties as regular quartz, but it also has, it disperses fear and negativity and depression, and it promotes calmness, positivity, and strength. And it's particularly effective for conditions affecting the abdomen, hips, and legs. And that is what the intention is for. So I thought that was really good there. The blue candle in the back to the left of Buddha. He's elevated up there on a little. I just used that's an old vintage pickle jar. Actually, is what that is. A pickle crock that I have inverted this blue tea light holder in the back. Blue is really good color for health as well. Blue, pink, and white, I think, are some of my favorite colors to use for health and healing. And blue reminds us not just for health, but it also reminds us to be patient. And sometimes when we're offering prayers, particularly about health or things, we need to be patient. We need to be patient for the procedures to work. And this candle in the back here, I have the prayer of St. Francis is at the base of that candle. There's a picture there of St. Francis, a illuminated picture, illumination of St. Francis. And on the very back of that is the prayer of St. Francis, and I got that in Old Town when I was there visiting. The little golden retriever figurine, which my husband, I think if you are my friends on Facebook, you heard that just about a month ago we lost our 11-year-old golden retriever, our oldest one, and it was really devastating to us. We loved him so. Everybody loved him so, but we thought appropriate representation here on this altar because one of his greatest qualities was the way he nurtured everyone. He was very healing effects on people, but also other animals. He adopted stray kittens. We from time to time sit a dog who has severe handicaps and limitations, and Finn would help take care of her, and he just was he was like a nanny, little nurse dog. So we thought his representation of Finn on this altar was really appropriate, that he's an angel, guardian angel of sorts for all pets, as a St. Francis. And he's wearing, on the back you can't see, but he's meant to be this little figure is meant to be an ornament, hanging ornament, and so it has a little hook on it, and we just attached Finn's tags to that. So it's presents for Finn here when we give our intention. What else do I have here? The incense that I burned, well, this morning I burned Palo Santo, which is very, it's for healing and offers the intention of a swift recovery. And that's really intended for everyone, but particularly for my friend here at the Big White Candle. I use different kinds of incenses for healing, depending on what my major intention is for the day. Frankincense and myrrh, I burn those two together, and that's in the little tiny clamshell you see in the front. I do that often on this altar. Also sometimes lavender, which I keep up in the cupboard above, and mugwort. And I talked to you about mugwort the last time on my video, I believe, that was St. John the Baptist's herb, and he used that to protect for the most evil of all forces. The quote was, "It wards off wild beasts, poison, and stroke, keeps elves and other evil at bay. It will cure madness." So I thought, well, mugwort is the strongest of the herbs that I would bring out, particularly for dealing with procedures against cancers, which I have several friends who suffer from those. Also, of course, on this altar, the novena candle is that is Our Lady of Guadalupe. I use her quite often on this altar, and I have a rosary here. I have a raven feather. You might see the raven feather between the orange tile and the little golden retriever figure. I use that raven feather from representation of Bird, who came to me and needed my help, and I use a feather from Bird or his kin to help raise power through the incense burning. I fan the incense with the feather. I have a key. I like to keep this key on this altar at all times because we're looking, and in this altar we're asking questions of health, questions of if we're a lost pet or whatever. The prayer is asked, of course, in a question if we will receive grace through the key. And I have, again, while I said representation of, this is my altar that faces west, I have a little starfish. To the right of the orange towel, you might see it. It's a little starfish souvenir, really, I got on Laguna Beach locally here, which is just it's in the shape of a pentagram, isn't it? So it was a really cool little star to put on here for more protection. Okay? Let's see. I talked a little bit about one thing I skipped over, the little dish in front of the Our Lady of Guadalupe novena candle is a little dish that I made, and inside that is an offering bowl from the pets, from my pets, on the altar. When we ask to receive something, we always give, and in this case, we have for the pets, we have a feather from one of my chickens, from one of my hens. We have a claw from one of my cats, which you know I use those all the time in spell work. And we have a little baby tooth from little Finn here, my young golden retriever. He's not so young, he's a year old now, but it's one of his baby teeth that fell out, and it's in the offering bowl as well. Now back to the bundle. I did not finish the bundle, what I was talking about in the bundle. I wanted to go over the things that I use in there real quickly. The lime I said that I chose, it's a very strengthening herb for the love. Louis. Sorry, Louis is moving my camera here. Louis, move. Get up. Good boy. It strengthens that love, and which is meant to be, this altar really is about love. Lavender from my garden is in there too, both leaf and flower. I don't know if you can see it, it's on the top of the bundle. Lavender is a very good protection herb, also good for healing and overcoming feelings of depression, which often accompany illness or loss or grief. It also offers general healing properties. It's very healing. Thyme from my garden, both, again, leaf and flower, involved in this bundle, to ward off grief again, strength and courage will need, and it attracts good health. Thyme is an attraction herb, not just a detraction. It attracts, so it's a really good herb for attracting good health, which this is all about. Sage, of course, which I usually incorporate in all of my bundles. This is from the, it's at the top of the bundle there. And one of the reasons it's incorporated in all of my bundles is it's so fantastic. It has so many properties. But it's used a lot in healing. And also because it promotes spiritual, mental, emotional, physical health, and longevity, which is just what sort of accompanies everything. It's a really all-around, really good all-around healer. Rose from my garden as well. A pink rose specifically, which I really love that it was pink, because pink is a really good color for this healing altar and healing. It will help promote swift healing. Swift, it makes it swift. So that's a good sentiment here. And finally, mint. Specifically spearmint, which is really another garden. When we say just generally mint, we're talking of spearmint. And that is, it's a good healing herb to use while you're sleeping. And so it's really good. I consider it really good to help those who are not in a position to help themselves, which is someone who's sleeping would be not in a position to help themselves. Someone who is very ill, someone who's undergoing surgery or something like that, again, not in a position to help themselves. So the mint is in the bundle for that purpose, and it offers strength and vitality as well. Okay, I'm going to just move the camera again and offer my last final remarks. Just a minute. Okay, I'm back. I just want to say I want to say a couple things in closing. Number one, if you would notice, all of my candles that I'm burning pretty much are in glass. That's really important for altars such as this, when you're not just something that you're maybe not going to stand over and watch all the time. Really, exercise safety is really, really important. And just because it's in glass doesn't mean you can just go away and leave it. If I'm going to leave this house or I'm going to go to bed, you better believe it, I snap out those candles and then I relight them again, because you just don't know. Some of these, particularly like the novena candles, they're very iffy how safely they are produced. I mean, they're very cheap to have around here, and they're used very often around here, but I have had the glass crack, I've had the glass explode, I've had all kinds of weird things happen, so you need to be on hand. Just be safe, number one. Number two, whenever you are, I just want to remind you, of course it's a silly thing, of course you would probably know this, but I'm offering it as a reminder because I don't always remember myself. Write down what you did. It doesn't have to be in a book of shadows. It can be in anything. Write it on a memo on your phone. It doesn't matter. But when you're working with things like this, any kind of spell work, but when you're working with herbs or you're working with stones or colors, write down what you use them for and then see how that works with you. Because if you're going to get a feeling how well that worked. If it didn't work, don't use it again. Try it. When people say use what works for you, they really mean use what works for you. And how will you know that if you forget what you use? I also wanted to give you a really quick look because some of these things you could not see. This is the bundle that I was talking about. You see, what I did was I just started, and you've seen me make these before, but I started at the bottom. I had this whole thing is a cutting from my lime tree. I started here at the bottom, and I started adding things as I was wrapping. And I added, here you can see the flower of the lavender, and this is the leaf of the lavender. Here we have the rose. Here we have the thyme. Here's the flower of the lavender sticking up here. Here's thyme sticking out here. I just kept adding things as I went. And it's very lovely, and it looks lovely on the altar, but you can smell the mix of everything together. When you burn things, they don't smell the same as when they do fresh, and sometimes you don't always have to burn. I think some people are surprised, like if they get my incense blends, because they get it and they see it has lavender and rose and all these things in it, and they get real excited. But then when they burn it, and it smells lovely, but then when they burn it, they think, well, that doesn't smell exactly how I thought it would smell. That's because it doesn't. It doesn't smell the same fresh. It doesn't smell the same dried, and it doesn't smell the same when the smoke from it does not smell the same. So you don't always have to burn. If you are in a position in your home where you can't burn, like on a charcoal disc, you can leave things this way. This intention is still here. And it's very, very fragrant. I can smell very, very fragrant. I can hardly put it down. Smelling how fresh all of these things smell together. It still serves your purpose without it being burned. It doesn't have to. So if you have a dried incense blend and you don't want to burn it, just put it in a dish like you would potpourri. The intention is still there without it being burned at all. Burning it just sets it into the air, and it sets your prayer, right? That's the idea. When you light a candle, the candle is there. My husband and I were talking about this yesterday. The reason for lighting a candle, like in a church, you offer a prayer while you're in the church, and then you wander away from the church. Your prayer is still being said as long as that candle is being lit, right? So that's the idea. Same kind of thing. And you don't have to burn it if you just leave it fresh on your altar or in a dish on your altar. And that is your intention. Your intention is still there. I think. That's what I think. I mean, what do you care what I think? But that's what I think. So, I'm being excited to hear what you think. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. It was a very simple little video. Just wanted to share. I'm trying to inspire more of you to share more of your things because people aren't sharing like they used to. Show me your stuff. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for coming to my channel and watching. I appreciate it so much. I am the Good Wife, Rebecca. And as always, I wish you blessings.